I have the great opportunity to be with one of my service heroes, Rob Perez. Rob is the creator and owner of Saul Good Restaurant and Pub in Lexington, Kentucky, and he has just opened a new location in Hamburg, which is really good for me because I can practically walk here from my house. So I'm very excited about this opportunity, and I want to talk to Rob today about his service. I will tell you that Saul Good has fantastic food. It comes out fresh, hot, it's a really interesting menu. But my big thing here, or I should say, and my big thing here, is the incredible service. And I just believe Rob gets it. So Rob, great to see you.
Hey Billy, how you doing?
How's it going, man?
Good, thank you.
Good, good. Tell me about your service philosophy.
Well, I mean, the idea is that we want to build a club. So everybody that comes in here, our idea is to make them love the place, love the food, but more importantly, make a friend.
Yeah, and your people seem to be able to connect. Now, how do you find people like that?
Our philosophy with how we get there is really a little bit different, and maybe a little bit different than what you would think. Our deal is to become unconsciously competent at your job so that they'll see your heart. We believe that no one will ever see your service heart if you don't get your food on time, the way that you wanted it, and you know that it's hot.
And so you spend a lot of time making sure they know their job.
Yeah, the trick to our service, in my opinion, is that we make sure that people know their job so well that all they do is to try to pick up on all the service cues. Is their drink half empty? Fill it up. Is there a facial expression that isn't positive? Ask about it. You know, it's all the things that happen during the course of a meal that I think is important for us to pick up on. Now, if they don't know their job great, they won't pick up on those things because they're worried about how to use the POS. You know, what's my next service standard? But if you know your job, you should be able to pick up on that. That's the idea.
Absolutely, that's very cool. So what I've found when I've been here is that it's never too much. You know what I mean? In other words, you can go to places where they're overly attentive, but somehow your people have figured out, or you figured out, how to get them to strike a balance.
Well, I think the important thing that we preach here is it's not about us. Yeah. It's about the guest. I don't subscribe necessarily to the idea that we have to be the center point of the meal process.
Yes.
I think that if the guest wants us to be happy and gregarious and interactive and tell jokes, then that's what we give them. But if they want to just have a solid meal, you know, with just technically sound service, then that's what we give them, and that's what we want to give to them.
Yeah. And you know, I failed to mention your better half and really co-creator and co-founder, Diane. Yeah. And I'll just tell you that you can feel Rob's passion and enthusiasm. Well, Diane, his wife, significant other, and wonderful lady, is also co-founder and co-creator, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. And when she's on the floor, when either one of these two are on the floor, they just model service. But you've also done a great job selecting managers now, because you're really wanting to expand, and you've got a couple of great managers. Tell us about the criteria for those folks.
Yeah, I mean, really what we do is we put them in a service position as a kitchen line cook, you know, as a server, as a bartender, just like you would, you know, in any other business. But what we try to focus in on is also getting them unconsciously competent in each of those positions. Right. And then what we do is we teach them that really the core content of someone's work character happens at the table, it happens at the host stand, it happens at the expo line, and it happens at the bar top. And what we want to do is we want to pat people on the back for all the things that they do service-wise, and that's the grading that they get. Not whether or not they like the same football team as us, not because they're funny, not because they've got a lot of cool friends, but because what they do as their job we concentrate on, and we make sure that we go back and we follow up with everybody on that. Yeah. And that's really what their job is, and that's how we think that we perform well as managers.
Right. And you know, I've often said for big companies, the brand happens at the table. I mean, you can have all these great surroundings and you can have all this great food, but the brand delivery happens at the table, and you guys have figured that whole thing out, which is very exciting.
Well, we always tell everybody our resume is really what's happening at the table or at the bar top right this second. And it doesn't matter if we were successful on the first 500 dinners of this week. It really matters what's happening at this exact second.
Yeah.
And so we try not to take ourselves too seriously, but we never pat ourselves back on the back for the good press that we've been fortunate enough to have.
Yeah.
The second you believe your press is the second that you'll be doomed to relive an ugly past.
Well, that's great advice for anybody in any business, I think.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Rob, thank you so much for your time.
Our pleasure.
We're so excited to have you here. You're our neighbor in Hamburg. Come out to Saul Good. It's fantastic.